Mike Butcher, TechCrunch, Davos Live, and I have with me Daire Hicky from Web Summit. Now, Web Summit, I remember going to Dublin with Paddy Cosgrave, the founder, and it was a room for about a couple of hundred people, and chatting about tech, and now Web Summit is, I guess, basically the biggest conference in the startup space now, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we started with Paddy, myself, and David back 6 years ago, there was 200 people at the first event, which is pretty crazy. Listening to the founders of YouTube, Skype, and Twitter. And last year in Dublin, last November, we had 42,000 people.
Yeah.
So it's over 3,000 startups exhibiting, 1,000 speakers, 1,500 media. So it's kind of blown up. And
Yeah.
I think what's cool about Web Summit is it's truly global in that you've got people from over 120 countries. So it gives a really good sense of what's going on. You're as likely to meet a startup from Silicon Valley as you are from Ghana or elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a real broad brush, isn't it?
Really broad brush, and I think that's great. And we've had some incredible stories come out of Web Summit. Everyone from Uber raised their Series B round, met Shervin Pishvar there. They walked around Dublin, had a pint, and closed their Series B, and that was like a really kind of fundamental step in Uber's journey. And then you had people like Smart Things, who won our startup competition 2 years ago. They got acquired by Samsung, and there are countless stories like that. So conferences are a great place to meet people.
Yeah, and we certainly like doing our Disrupt conference, but we like to stick to our knitting, as it were. But you guys have gone really big, and it's almost like Mobile World Congress for startups now. Why did you take that decision to sort of scale it up so big?
Yeah, I think part of it is democratizing the whole thing, and then frankly, it's demand as well. There's been huge demand.
Yeah.
When we started our conference, tickets to the best tech conference in Europe at the time, Le Web, which was like the only show in town, and they had incredible people. Tickets were 3,000 a piece.
Yeah.
So I remember hustling and having one ticket between three of us because we couldn't afford to go there. Now you can get a ticket to the Web Summit for 200, 300 quid, which is awesome. And many people volunteer for a day so that they can hang out for 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think it's really taken off.
Yeah.
And obviously we've been like super aggressive in terms of our growth. We're always looking to kind of spread the story of Web
many
Summit.
sort of different versions now, Collision,
and
Rise.
In the Web Summit itself, we've moved from not doing just like pure tech startups, but we do like hardcore enterprise.
Terribly sorry, my phone's
Do you need
going
to take
off.
that?
I'm so sorry.
But we do like hardcore enterprise, but we do music, we do sport,
Yeah.
we do all of those things. So that brings in people who maybe aren't traditionally just in the tech sector. And then, as you said, we expanded, not just doing the Web Summit in Dublin, now in Lisbon, but we've expanded to do our next event is Surge in India.
Yeah.
So over 5,000 people will attend that. That's at the end of February. So that should be pretty awesome. We've got like Flipkart and Snapdeal there. And
Certainly, as a journalist, I think it's really great opportunity because it's such a big conference. That you guys have really gone nuts, and as it were, and scaled up. You do get to meet a lot of fantastic people. You mentioned you're moving from Dublin now to Lisbon. That was a little bit of a controversial move, especially in Dublin. I know that it brings a lot of money into the city. Why did you take that decision, and what can we expect in Lisbon?
So, I mean, Dublin doesn't have and never has traditionally had conferences the size of the Web Summit. And, while it was an incredible place to incubate the conference, we were having problems with traffic, and particularly, startups were really being hammered in hotels. They were paying 300, 400, 500 euros a night in a 3-star hotel. And I mean, that's not practical. Whereas now going to Lisbon, if you're a startup, you can pay, less than 100 euros a night for a hotel. So it makes it much more accessible to people. And it kind of democratizes the Web Summit and what it's about. So, people also wondered if we'd kind of lose that special flavor that Dublin has, the pub crawls and all of the fun. We did an event in Hong Kong this year. And people said, you're never going to be able to bring that culture that you have in Dublin to Hong Kong. It's a totally different culture. They'll never understand. But we did it, and we brought those pub crawls to Hong Kong, and everybody had a great time, an awesome time. So if we can do it in Hong Kong, we can definitely do it in Lisbon. And it's a little bit warmer too, which is nice.
Yeah, the weather is good.
Yeah.
It is such a big event now. It's definitely a big marker in the diary. I must ask you, just very, very briefly, there was a little bit of controversy in last year about, does it add value, because you can get lost a little bit perhaps in the noise. There's so many people. What's your counter argument to that?
Yeah, I mean, we survey everybody before, during, and afterwards.
Yeah.
So the figures for last year of the people who did not want to return to the Web Summit was 3%. So, I mean, we survey objectively, not using leading questions, but we do get lots and lots of feedback, lots of constructive criticism.
Yeah.
We've changed the brand over the last few years.
Yeah.
So at first when you came to the Web Summit, it was just talks. You just sit there in a room and you listen, and it's like really tiny, confined networking space. Now there's a hell of a lot more networking. There's more talks, very specific talks, longer talks, shorter talks. There's like office hours with VCs that you can go to. We try and matchmake, particularly with VCs, with startups based on their interests.
Yeah.
They can do lots of searching. There's like lots of like workshops, lots more sessions like that. There's a hell of a lot more to the product, and I think what's interesting, some of the criticism that came from the Web Summit was around our marketing in particular, it being quite aggressive, and it was a lot of it.
Your emails are famous.
Yes, our emails are famous. They're regular, but it came a lot from people who'd never been to the Web Summit before,
right? Yeah,
which was kind of interesting,
yeah,
and I think unfair. But there is a thing, and you certainly see it where I think the people who come to the Web Summit and every other conference, they've been working on a project for a year or whatever, and this is their big moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are so busy and so stressed building that product, and they walk in the door of the Web Summit having done no work whatsoever on the actual meeting. So you and I both go to conferences all the time, and we know that you can't simply just walk in and expect everything to happen.
Yeah.
You really have to hustle. You've got to spend a lot of time setting up meetings, doing your homework in advance, hustling for those meetings. We've both been there hustling to get like, I mean, you were hustling to get Kevin Spacey the other day, and I'm hustling to meet all sorts of people, and you've got to have that drive and that hustle. You have to have it, and I think it can be daunting when there are a lot of people.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there are so many people who've done so incredibly well, out of the Web Summit, and I think if you're willing to make that hustle, it can really work for you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic media platform. And certainly I look forward to attending and hanging out with you guys in the future. So Daire Hicky from Web Summit, thanks very much for coming to talk to TechCrunch.
Thanks.